Hello and welcome to episode 37 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, your host, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as mmonska. The show notes for this week's episode and previous episodes can be found on the blog, which is stitchedinsweden.blogspot.com. Hello and welcome to December. It's December 1st today, and I am recording after class. It is completely dark outside. I think it's about 3:15 or so in the afternoon, and I got home a little bit early today, so I thought I would pop in and record an episode. So I just wanted to start out and say Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who celebrated. We had a small dinner here that I made just for me and Thomas, and then not really Thanksgiving dinner, but it had some Thanksgiving inspiration of tastes, I guess. And then actually we were invited to some of his friends' house for a more traditional Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday evening. So we went there and had a lot of delicious food, and that was really nice. So it was funny to be the only American at that get-together with maybe 20 other people, because everyone was asking me if the food was authentic and what it really should look like or something like that, which was kind of fun. So this week in Stockholm we have had really cold temperatures, and it's making me want to knit all of the things. I have been particularly excited to start knitting some hats, and I've been wearing, of course I wear my shawls all the time, but I've been wearing my mittens and gloves more and more, and I need them. So that is nice, but yes, I have been casting on a lot of new things, and I will share those with you, of course, today. The temperature has been right around 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 Fahrenheit, but the real feel, including the wind chill for the past few days, has been closer to -6, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's cold. So definitely wearing lots of layers and warm woolly things. So that's why I'm wearing my Cybella sweater, the Cybella pullover that I knit out of Quince & Co. yarn in the Egret colorway. But yes, it's definitely feeling like winter. We went to a small Christmas market on Sunday that we had here on our island, which was really nice. We went to one the previous weekend as well, and it was it was also nice, but the things that people were selling at this small Christmas market were more appealing to me, and beautiful handmade things, and some foods, and sausages and cheese and different kinds of things like that, which were really nice. We bought a little cake stand sort of tray thing, which right now I have a couple of candles on. But it's just a white ceramic stand. I'm not going to tip it because you can see the candles are on there. And we just have been having this on our table in the living room with some candles on it, but we might, serve cookies on it or something. Put fruits on there too at some point. But yeah, they had a lot of beautiful things at that market. They were also selling some wreaths and some sort of Christmas greenery kind of things as well. We also celebrated the first Advent with Thomas's oldest brother and his partner, and their kids and some other people who were there, it was a lot of fun as well. So it's definitely getting to be Christmas here, but I don't really get a break from school, so that seems quite different this year than before. because I've always had a Christmas break for school. And even though we will have some time off where we don't need to be in school, we still have assignments that will be going throughout the holidays, and our only days off will be the 25th and the 1st. So that's a bit different. But anyway, that's a little update for what's been going on around here. If you noticed, on Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving, and for a couple days I had a little sale going on in the shop, and I wanted to say thank you for all of you who purchased patterns. It was really nice, and I was featuring my newest pattern, which I haven't shared on the podcast, but I have posted a few pictures on Instagram, and this pattern is available now. So my newest pattern is a cowl, and here it is. This is the Slipstream cowl, and it is knit out of Quince & Company Tern. I knit mine in the terracotta colorway, and it uses about 2.5 skeins. The Quince & Co skeins are 50 grams, so this is a fingering weight yarn, so you use about 2.5 or a little bit more than that, depending on how long you would like to have your cowl. I wanted this to be sort of a medium length, and the instructions in the pattern are for this length, but of course you can knit it to however long you want it to be. And I'll put it on, hopefully it won't disturb my microphone too much. Perfect. And so I'll give you a little stand-up of this, but it goes, my belly button is right here, so it goes kind of moving the camera, kind of mid waist, I guess. It's just a nice cowl that you can wear. You can wear it tucked in a jacket. It doesn't add too much extra bulk. You can double it if you want at this length, but you don't have to wear it doubled. And yeah, it is knit long ways, or so like it's knit back and forth. You begin with a provisional cast on and do the repeats and stuff until you have reached the length you would like, and then you graft it together in the end with the Kitchener stitch. And that's that. So I've had that project finished for a little while now, and I have had some lovely test knitters who have knit the pattern for me and looked it over and everything. And so I just wanted to say thank you to my test knitters now, and I really appreciate your feedback. The shawl season cowl was going through November, so now it's December, and that cowl has ended. K-A-L, has ended, but you are free to, of course, continue to post in that thread if you would like. There are a lot of beautiful finished shawls in there, and it has been quite inspiring to look through and see just a lot of pretty patterns that I hadn't seen before, or ones knit in different colors, different combinations. It's really inspiring, so definitely check that out if you are looking for a shawl to knit. This week and last week, like I said, I have been knitting on a couple of new things, and I have continued working on some old things. I have one finished project, which was also a new start since the last time I've talked to you, but otherwise a lot of my projects are still the same. I'm still working on my Wheaton wrap, and that's in the Loft yarn in the Long John's colorway, which is the red. I'm not going to show you because it's just in the same place as it was last time, and it's really close to being done, and I should probably just work on that for a bit because I'm really excited to wear the finished wrap. and it's definitely cold enough, so I would like to finish that soon, but I've been saying that now for a while. I am also still working on my Suniva socks, which is a pattern from Liana from A Wee Bit Knitty podcast, and I'm really enjoying those as well, but I'm not going to show you them because they are also in a very similar, if not a little bit negative knitting from where they were last time I showed you. Since last time I did the heel flap, turned the heel, started doing the gusset decreases, and then I was thinking, there's not enough gusset decreases. This is really weird compared to the other sock. And then when I looked more closely, I realized that I hadn't knit the heel flap long enough on the second sock. So I had to rip back the heel turn and all those gusset stitches and knit a little bit more of the heel flap and do it all again. So that got put a little bit on hold just because, yeah, I was having a problem with it, but I really like the pattern and I'm still excited to wear those socks, so I would like to finish those as well. I did do a bit more on my colorwork sweater. I showed you this before. This is my swatch that I steeked and really enjoyed steeking. And I'm not sure where I was before, but I have finished the sleeves. So here's the first sleeve, and here is the second sleeve. You can see those. These markers on the side just mark where my increases were so that I could match them on the second sleeve. And yeah, it went really well. I have the armhole here. You can see there's not a hole because that is where one of my steeks will be. So rather than knitting in the round for the entire sleeve and then knitting only back and forth for the sleeve cap, I continued knitting in the round after binding off a couple of stitches here. I restarted in the round with the area that will be the steek, so I'll cut right down the middle there, and then it will open up again into the sleeve cap. So I have two. They're pretty much identical, and I still have the tubular cast on yarn in there. That waste yarn there will go away. But otherwise, yes, I have had both of these sleeves done for a few days now. I need to just start on the body, and I know that I'll then start picking it up, but it's kind of at that stage in the project where I've reached one point, and then because the next step sort of involves getting out my smaller needles again for the ribbing and getting some waste yarn and concentrating for a couple of rows for the tubular cast on, which will be for many stitches because it's for the whole body, that's sort of enough that in the evening, maybe when I come home from school and I cook dinner, I'm just ready to knit on something else, not have to worry about starting something. But maybe this weekend I could start the body. Another project that I worked on this week is something that's not a new cast on directly, is actually a project that Thomas started. So I think it was maybe last summer. I'm not sure exactly when it was. We were in Colorado and Thomas decided that he wanted to knit some socks. And I think I have told you before that he knows how to knit because he sort of just, I don't know that he taught himself, but he had watched me enough, just, sitting next to me on the couch or something. I didn't really know that he was watching me particularly, but he watched me enough to figure out what I was doing, making the stitches, and he asked me one night if he could try a couple stitches on my sock that I was working on, and I said sure. And I didn't think he was gonna know how to do it, and I was like, oh, let me show you how you do it. And he said, no, I think I can figure it out. And he picked it up and he made a couple stitches and he knew how to do it. So we were in Colorado and we picked up some yarn that he wanted to knit. And he wanted to make some socks. He knit the cuff and he knit the leg, which he likes short cuffed socks, relatively short. So he knit to about there, and then he just kind of put it aside. Maybe school started and stuff like that. And I said I would do the heel flap for this one because I know that he was mostly just interested in making the knit stitches and purls. Yeah. And so I did the heel flap and turned it for him, and then he just kind of seems like he had lost interest. So last week I thought that this would be a perfect project because now these socks have been sitting on the needles for maybe a year at least, if not a year and a half. I thought these would be the perfect kind of project that I was looking for something that I could knit in class because they don't have any patterning, they're just plain socks. I know how to do them, and so I picked them up and I've been knitting them in class, and this is how far I am. So today I did just the last part of the leg that I had of the second sock, and I did the heel flap, the turn, and I started the gusset. So I have just a couple more decreases until I am ready to do the foot of the sock. They don't match, as you can see. Well, they match, they're the same yarn, but the colors don't line up, which is okay. We will see what he thinks about that. I'm not sure if he realized that would happen, but these balls of yarn are only 50 grams, and they're kind of, I think, more like a sport weight. And so, even though he doesn't have particularly large feet, they used up most of the yarn. And I didn't knit long cuffs either, as you know. So, but I'll give you just a little closer view. There's a couple of uneven stitches here, but I mean, for the first ever project, I think that that's pretty excellent knitting for him on this part here. So I was quite impressed. Anyway, the first sock is done, and I'm sure that the second one will be finished this week in class at some point. In case you're interested in the yarn, this is a Patons Kroy sock yarn. It does say that it is super fine, like the number 1, which I think means that it's fingering weight, but it's definitely a thicker fingering weight while I'm knitting with it. It says, yeah, definitely, because for 50 grams there is 152 meters, and usually there's closer to 400, I think, for normal fingering weight, so there will be 200 meters in a 50 gram ball. Anyway, this is number 1307, Slate Jacquard. And there it is. So those have been kind of fun because I can knit without looking, and I see a lot of progress in them each day, so that's nice. I did cast on another pair of socks, and I actually bought this yarn since last time I went to the local yarn store here. And I'm knitting a pair of socks out of the Yaku yarn. This is the Yaku 416 superwash, and it's 100% superwash wool. There's 200 meters and 50 grams instead of 152 like the other ones, so it's a little bit thinner. And this is the Solmansblå color, which is 1710. which is Danish, but I don't know what it means. Something blue. And I'm actually knitting these on double pointed needles. I have just a couple of pairs of double pointed needles, a couple of sets. I started knitting socks on double pointed needles when the first thing I ever knit was a pair of socks, and I knit them on double pointed Brittany wooden needles, US size 2, which I think is 2.5 millimeter, and I used to knit all of my socks on those needles, and I broke them and got replacements, and I really liked them. But then I learned Magic Loop and tried metal needles, and they were so much faster, and it was just easier for me, I guess, and I liked the idea of being able to have, I don't know why I liked it so much, but I liked the idea of being able to have a set of circular needles that I could do small circumference things like socks and sleeves, but also large circumference things like bodies of sweaters or hats and that kind of thing. So I never really developed my set of double pointed needles, but I have been enjoying knitting some socks recently on double pointed needles. I have a metal set of Hiya Sharps in like US 1.5, 2.25 millimeter, and those are nice. They are a little bit heavy to have, 5 needles going at a time, and I found that they were a little bit too loud for when I'm knitting in class. So I wanted to try some bamboo ones. So I got these, which are clovers, and they are 16 centimeters, so I think they're 6 inches or something. I'm not sure. They're this long. And they are a US 0, and that is a 2 millimeter. And I'm knitting some plain blue 2x2 rib socks. And these are for Thomas's dad. And they're coming out really nice. I usually dislike doing entire socks in ribbing because I find it boring and a little bit tedious. But I think that these socks are going to be really nice and they're going to fit him really well. And I hope he's pleased with them. I have done the heel flap. Have not turned the heel yet because I was interested in looking up to see, or just playing around with a little bit, having the heel turn also be reinforced. So this is a slip stitch heel, which is reinforced. It's kind of a little bit squishier. And I wanted to also have that for the bottom of the heel because I was talking to him about socks and measuring his foot and stuff, and he showed me some of his socks which just have holes everywhere, especially in the bottom of the heel. So I think it would be good if they were reinforced in the bottom as well. Or he showed, not all of his socks have holes in them, but he showed me a pair of wool socks that he has, and he's like, but see, they have a hole here and they have a hole in the bottom. And I hope that he's not expecting that these will be somehow bulletproof socks, because they won't be, and they probably will get holes in them. But yeah, I figure I could do a reinforced heel flap and try to work out a reinforced heel turn, and at least that should help a bit. So I'm enjoying working on those, and I have been really liking knitting on the bamboo double pointed needles, which sort of surprised me, but at the same time it sort of didn't surprise me because it's kind of nice to go back to a method of knitting that I started out with. These needles actually have a pretty nice point on them, and they're really smooth. So I think that the bamboo ones are a bit smoother than wooden ones that I have used in the past. but I don't have any wooden ones to compare directly with right now. I'll try to get those socks finished for Christmas, and yeah, we'll see. Another project that I cast on last night is the Quadri hat, which is a pattern, I believe, by Michelle Wong. And I was inspired to knit this by Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast. And she knit one, I think she knit it out of wool maybe, and she put a pom-pom on it. And I was at the craft store the other day, and I saw a nice fuzzy black pom-pom. So I got that, and of course then I had to cast on the hat. So I'm knitting this in some Swedish yarn, which I bought at a sheep festival last year. I think it was in February, but I'm not sure. Maybe April. And I bought it this year in 2015. But it felt like a while ago. Anyway, this is some fin ull garn, which just means fine wool, but it comes from I think it comes from the fine wool sheep. I think it's a specific type of sheep. Because I'm pretty sure at the festival there was a couple of sheep there, and I'm pretty sure that fin ull was one of the types of sheep that there were. Anyway, it is quite a rustic yarn. It is a 2-ply, I believe, and it's, I would guess, more of a longer staple length wool, just because it's a little bit, it's not really rope-like, but it's a little more sort of hairy, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little bit, yeah, there's some fuzzes on it. They're kind of long bits. But so far, I like knitting with it, and I think that it will be especially nice after it's washed. So I cast on last night, like I said, and this hat is just flying by. I'm really enjoying the pattern so far. I'm knitting the medium large size. There was 2 sizes in the pattern. And I'm doing it magic loop because I don't have double points for hats, and I don't have a small circumference like the 16-inch circular needles that work for hats, because I have these 5-inch tips. That's my phone. I have these 5-inch tips, and for me, when I use the 16-inch cable, I don't know if it's just how I knit or if the 5-inch tips don't work with that length cable, which they came with the set, so I think it's a little bit strange. But I can't do the circumference, it's too tight. So I think I either need a shorter needle tip or a shorter needle tip. I don't know. That's what I need. But I don't have that, so I'm just doing it magic loop, which isn't ideal, but it's not slowing me down that much, so that's fun, I guess. But yeah, I have just finished the cuff part here, and I've done maybe 2 rows or so into the hat, the main hat part. But it's nice and stretchy, and right now I'm knitting on US size 8, which is a 5mm needle. And I rarely knit on this large of needles, so it seems like it's cruising by, which is nice. But I hope that I will enjoy wearing this hat. I'm just not really a hat person, but when it is really cold here, -6 wind chill, and it's gonna get colder, then I really feel like I want to wear a hat. So, we will see. But I do have one finished object this week, which is a hat that I am quite happy with. It is not for me, but I might put it on for you and show you. This is the Rose Red hat, which is a pattern by Isolde Teak. It's one of her first patterns, I think. It has a little I-cord top, and it has cable details and some lace eyelet details there, and it just has a really nice crown detail as well. And I knit this pattern, I have the yarn tag right here. I knit this out of the yarn that was called for in the pattern, which is something that I rarely do, but it was really nice because, I don't know, of course I still had to think about my gauge and stuff and what needles I was going to use, but you sort of know that your project will turn out more or less similar to the original, and that's not something that I usually do, so it was kind of just fun. So I knit this out of Orkney Angora, the St. Magnus DK, which is a 50% Angora and 50% wool. 50 grams has approximately 200 meters, which to me that seems like it's fingering, so I don't know why it's called DK. And it is hand-dyed in the Orkney Islands, Scotland. So I got this from Loop, London, and this colorway is Black Jet. There's the tag for you. You can buy this online from Loop, and there's one other store, I think it's called Tangled in the UK. The link to the Orkney Angora website was not working, so I'm not sure if they are I don't know if they have a website anymore or what. But here is this hat, and I think it looks really cute. So you can sort of have it a little bit, I think I would wear it a little bit to the side. I made this hat for my mom for last Christmas, and I know she really likes it. I knit hers out of the Onion yarn, which is the Nettles wool something else blend, in a blue, a pretty cornflowery blue color, I would say. But this one is also a gift, and they requested black, who it's for. I guess I could just say it's for Thomas's mom. She probably either won't be watching or she maybe knows that she's getting this, but whatever. Anyway, here it is, and I think that she will like it a lot. I'm gonna sew on one of my little labels, I think, and yeah, I think that she will enjoy it. So, but see, this is why I don't wear hats. They just make my hair crazy. Anyway, so that's my finished object for this week, and I don't know, I'm just really enjoying knitting on the new hat pattern, and I think that I may look through my yarn a bit and see if I can come up with something that I could knit another cowl or scarf for Thomas. He really likes his Kennebec cowl, and I'll put in a picture here while I'm talking, and you'll see that it's just a picture of him this weekend at the Christmas market. But he really likes wearing it, but he did mention this morning that he knows that once it gets much more below zero that it's going to not be warm enough. It is a 50% wool, 50% silk blend, so I think probably something with a bit more wool in it, or just thicker yarn, also could be good. So I will check in my stash a bit. I don't think that I don't really have very much yarn that is heavier weight. I have mostly fingering weight yarn. But I will take a look and see what I can find. So I think that's about it this week. I have my exams at the end of next week, so it's unlikely that I'll have a podcast before then. But I hope that you are all enjoying the first few days of December and that you are not too stressed out about Christmas knitting. And yeah, I hope you're doing well. So until next time, happy knitting. Bye!